What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Game Informer. I'm your host, Alex Van Aken. Thank you for tuning in to this new gameplay today. We're going to be looking at Bear and Breakfast alongside the game director at GummyCat, who is working on this lovely little game, Radish Sinteza. How you doing, my friend?
Hello. It's so nice to be here. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Bear and Breakfast has been on my wish list, or I've been following this game, I should say, for a while now, and I'm very excited that we get one of the first looks at this little game. Can you talk about it a bit and tell people what it is?
Of course. Bear and Breakfast is, by our naming standards, a management adventure game. Management goes first because initially it was kind of a hardcore management resource people management game, and then it slowly turned into, well, what if it had a story? What if it was about a cute bear? And that's kind of what we turned up with, part management and part adventure exploration kind of game.
That's awesome. And what were the early inspirations? You talking about, more of a hardcore management game. Was it always about, running a little bed and breakfast, or was it something else?
So I guess the main principal inspiration was a game that I grew up playing called Theme Hospital.
Oh, yeah.
From a company called Bullfrog. And it was sort of, I think, my first management game ever when I was a kid growing up. It just so happened that my mom was a doctor and games were really scarce here in Romania, where I'm from. There was no such thing as consoles, and we only had like kind of bad PCs to work with. So my mom found this bootleg version of Theme Hospital just because I guess someone at her work thought it was appropriate, and like the rest is history.
That's amazing. So we're following a bear and we are building a bed and breakfast. We're about I think the footage started just a few minutes into the game, where we're meeting all the characters and all that. Do you just kind of want to tell us who we're talking to right now, and kind of what our overall goal is at this point in the game?
Yeah, sure. So we're, I guess, in the first chapter of the game. We didn't get to see the prologue, but that's just like the very beginning of the game. Right now, we are controlling Hank, who is the main character, the bear, along with his two friends, which are Will and Annie. Annie is the dog, Will is the little bird with the red hat. And we're now talking to Tony, who is a beaver, somewhat of an expert in construction. You don't really know why, but you don't have to. The hard hat does all the talking for him. Yeah. And at this point, since this is the first chapter out of 5, this is the first kind of building you get to control and you get to build in. There isn't really like a free build as much as you want aspect to the game, as much as you are constrained by these buildings that you have to renovate and then build inside of. And what do you build inside of them? Well, you build a B&B, a bed and breakfast, because I guess that's what the name says.
That's cool. I like the fact that, there are these creative constraints we're working in. And I have a feeling, there will be more and more different types, a variety of buildings that we're renovating, and maybe some challenges that we have to knock out along the way. Because it seemed like we have like a quest tracker, and it kind of like tells us, the parameters in which we're building these buildings, correct?
Yes, that is correct. So you start off pretty simple. You start off with this kind of rundown shack that is really small and can really hold a lot of people, can really hold a lot of anything, really. So the only thing that you can build here are bedrooms, because this is more or less a tutorial learning how the game works sort of area. So you can only build bedrooms. Of course, at the start you build really kind of ugly bedrooms that not really comfortable, not really anything. But as the game progresses, you get bigger and bigger buildings, and you get more room types. You start getting bathrooms, you start having to worry about food, you start having to worry about heat, and so on and so forth, until the very end of the game, where everything comes together and you have to manage 3 huge buildings with like at least over 10 types of rooms and a lot of needs for different kind of characters, your guests.
That's awesome. And are the guests, you know, in their needs predetermined, or are they, you know, randomized? How does that work?
They're randomized. All of the guests are randomized based on where you are in the game. So in this first area in Timber Crossing, it's the story goes that this whole valley used to be, I guess, full of tourists and full of people, and then something happened that eventually drove everyone away, and only the animals were left to kind of roam around. And now what you're doing is you're helping this company, which is represented by Finn, this kind of inflatable shark with a radio, because that's someone talking to you, but you don't really know who it is. This company called Pawn Voyage, who is...
that's a good name.
Thanks. It's my favorite part of the game almost. It's like a pawn company that you can bring your valuables to, but instead of getting money, you get like kind of weird travel vouchers for holidays that I guess could be better. But that's kind of the premise of how the guests come here.
That's funny.
And all the guests are randomized, and you can see here you have just your first request. There's some temporary text because this is an alpha build.
Sure.
But you can see kind of the things that the guest will want eventually, and this is the first guest that just has requested to kind of stay in your place in the bedroom that you built, and now you've accepted that, and you're waiting for the morning when all the guests arrive, usually at the start of every day.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so you do have time to kind of prepare after accepting them. That's cool. And is there is there a case when, like, do you choose, okay, I'm ready for the next day to start, or is it just all based on a game clock?
It is based on a game clock. Every day right now kind of runs for, I think, about 18 minutes. But at midnight, you can opt to sleep until the next morning. You don't have to if you don't want to, but you can kind of skip half of the day if the waiting doesn't suit you, because our aim was to not to make a super casual game, but we didn't really want to have that hardcore management, oh no, I don't know what's happening kind of experience. So the game is a little slow, not in terms of pacing or anything, but it kind of gives you enough time to do whatever you want to do. We had a demo, I think, last year in 2021 during a Steam Fest, and we had just one level, and what we realized with that one level, that one building and just a few items of furniture, people really love to spend their time decorating stuff. They really like to take their time and make it just the way they wanted to, and we kind of really wanted to emphasize the fact that nothing's kind of making you move faster than you want to. You have time to decorate everything in your bed and breakfast the way you want to, I guess, in the constraints that you have with the unlocked items that you found so far. And that's why it's kind of slower, especially in the beginning. It just gives you enough time to do whatever you want on that front.
That's nice. Yeah. I mean, these games are always relaxing to me, even in, you know, more demanding management games. There's just some sort of like relaxing zen quality to them, and the fact that y'all are leaning into that, I think, is smart. I know we're talking to Took right now, but on the way we were picking up garbage on the ground, and that, I assume that those are resources, or are those resources, I guess, that you can use to craft other things, or is that what is that playing into? What kind of system?
Yeah, so it's very funny. Initially, garbage was just another chore. It was just another thing that you had to take care of.
Maybe like weeds in Animal Crossing or something.
Yeah, something like that. There's the game, the way the game judges how well you kind of took care of a guest is based on something called a decoration score. And that's kind of the sum of all the decorative items, the pretty pictures you put up, lights and whatnot, plants within the B&B. And then this garbage is something that the guests leave behind. Actually, they just randomly sometimes leave guests whenever they do something, which is kind of annoying, and you have to go pick it up. And we realized was okay. It's an effective mechanic. Whenever there's garbage on the floor, it kind of takes away some of that decoration score, so you have to keep on top of it.
Yeah.
And then we realized, what if we actually did something with the garbage and we turned it into a currency? So now the two currencies in the game are just normal coins like you'd have in any game. And then there's the quote unquote valuables, which are the garbage that you pick up from guests. And those are exclusively used to buy decorative items.
Oh, awesome.
You buy the decorative items from Took's dumpster because that's where you find them all, because it's kind of a recycling thing, I guess. But it works out really well, and it's a really cool mechanic that we kind of stumbled upon.
Yeah, I love that. I am one of those people who, you know, the customization and the decoration of the buildings are like my favorite part. And, you know, wall trims and, you know, the color of your bed and that kind of stuff. How many, like, what's kind of the range of options in terms of that customization that players can look forward to?
So in total, if I remember correctly, I think we're launching with around 220 items in total. And we kind of locked that in a while ago, like at least 6 months ago, because we became pretty good at making these items. We can make them pretty fast, and there's like no shortage of ideas. It's just that there were so many that eventually we had to give. Yeah, scope creep. We had to give them all names. We had to make sure they all fit in the game. They had the scores that they had, prices, everything. It becomes a real mess trying to manage so many items. So we figured this is a good number to launch on. And if the game is well received by people, I guess there's always the possibility to make more stuff in the future, including nice themed stuff around, you know, holidays, Halloween, stuff like that.
Oh yeah, that seems like a very natural fit. I'd love that. So I know I've kind of been asking you a lot of questions. So what's going on in the gameplay right now? We're talking to Took, and Took is, you said, sells cosmetics if we give them valuables. But yeah, what's going on?
Exactly. So you just found a sandwich for Took. You stole it from Oliver. Oliver is the bus driver. He'll come and play later when he is the fast travel system. And you just got a sandwich for Took, and he unlocked the dumpster, which gave you access to buy a few kind of bad decorative items at the start, but enough to kind of keep you going for this first area anyway. And what you're doing now is you're talking to Took. You're getting another quest to repair that other building that you see that you just passed, which is kind of an old travel kiosk.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna guess like gas station, but travel kiosk. Okay, that works.
Yeah, kind of like a mini travel agency, which there's a couple of places where you can have extra buildings. There's the main building where you build your B&B, and there's adjacent things like this kiosk that whenever you build, you get more guest requests. So there's a base number of how many guests want to stay in your bedrooms. You can build like 5 bedrooms, but only get like 3 requests a day. But if you want to fill everything up, you can kind of repair things around your cabin. You can
build up these amenities.
These adjacent buildings. There's also something we call monuments, which are like some are actual monuments, like some bear statues, and some are, I guess we call them monuments, but they're just something funny. There's an outhouse in this area that you can repair. And that just makes the area prettier, and that increases the number of guest requests, so you can have more people coming in and more money coming in, etc., etc.
Awesome. And once the guests are here, will they have additional requests, or do they typically kind of come, have their stay, and leave, and then those extra requests come from new visitors?
Yeah, the second part. Once a guest is here, you can either risk it and look at their demands and kind of say, okay, I'll just put them in a new room and then I'll figure out what they need, like I'm doing here. Maybe a guest wanted some decorating, a bigger decoration score, and I'm decorating his room right now to make sure that's met.
Or because you can accept it and then use the the time in between.
Exactly.
Ah, okay, I got it.
Yeah, so I'm just making sure the room is met and the conditions are met, and then I can move on and do something else with my time if I want to. Further down the line, there's a couple of mechanics that involve a little bit more micromanagement. For instance, comfort, which is the first thing that you have to care about, the little green score that's kind of hard to read. That was kind of hard to read a moment ago, is basically what happens in a bedroom, the things you have in a bedroom. That's the comfort score. If you make a good enough bedroom, people will be happy. But then you'll have hygiene later, which involves building bathrooms. You have to make sure that bedrooms are in the range for that bathroom. And you also have things like food. You'll have to cook food, which is a whole different minigame and a whole different process. And you have to make sure that the cooked food doesn't run out. So there's even more kind of involved micromanagement as you go through the game. And the more buildings you unlock, the more B&Bs you make, there's more plates to kind of start caring about and try to keep up at the same time. And that's how the game kind of grows in complexity over time, the more you progress.
Awesome. Well, I think we're about at the end of this episode. Thank you for joining me, Radish. Could you kind of tell people where they can play the game? I know there's no release date out, but just any info they need to go and find the game and eventually play it for themselves.
Yeah, of course. The game is very close to coming out. We've got a little bit to go, but we're right now aiming in the first half of this year. That's my line. The game will be available on Steam and Nintendo Switch at launch. You can wishlist the game on Steam right now. And if you want to see just more things about the game, you can go to the website, which is a very cute www.bear.game.
Oh, lovely. That's easy. Awesome. Well, thank you for joining me, my friend. If you enjoyed this video, everybody, be sure to click the like button, comment down below what you're looking forward to building in Bear and Breakfast, and head over to GameInformer.com for the latest news, previews, features, and reviews on your favorite upcoming and past games. Bye.